The most difficult and annoying adversaries Luffy had to face off against before the time skip were definitely Logia users. Smoker is a prime example of this, as even though Luffy was physically capable of challenging him, it didn't matter because none of his attacks could touch the white chase. Having said that, Crocodile and Enel were two of Luffy's biggest adversaries, and they were both Logia users. The Logia is stated several times to be the strongest type of devil fruit, and they are considered to be invincible because the user's bodies become intangible. The only way to interact with the body of a Logia is to use their natural counter or use armament haki, which is the only countermeasure to devil fruits. So what if these two early story powerhouses faced off with each other, and whose Logia powers would come out on top? But before we delve into this though, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content like this, and as always, your support is much appreciated. Crocodile was one of the warlords, which consisted of pirates and been given immunity by the government in exchange for their great strength and infamy. He's also the user of the Suna Suna no Mi, which allows him to become and control sand. With his right hand, he's able to absorb all moisture, which withers all things, and stone and rock turn to dust. As for his general scaling, Crocodile was more or less rivaling Luffy in the second round of their fight. He was able to endure several of Luffy's attacks, react to and dodge both his gun pistol and his gun pistol shotgun, and was able to send Luffy flying with his Sabo's technique. Crocodile has a couple more interesting techniques like Ground Sekko and his stronger variant Ground Death. These techniques dry up the environment into a field of dust and sand, which is advantageous for Crocodile. The latter technique is even more dangerous as it not only dries up the environment, but it also dries up anyone who's on the ground Crocodile is affecting. Crocodile goes on to win the second round by catching Luffy by surprise and turned him into a husk by absorbing almost all the moisture from his body. However, things turn out the worst in the third and final round as Luffy is able to counter Crocodile's intangibility by using his blood. After acknowledging Luffy as a troublesome enemy, Crocodile opted to poison Luffy, saying there's no such thing as fair or unfair in fights between pirates. As a result, Luffy's body started to grow numb, and at some point his body completely gave out due to the poison. However, moments after collapsing, Luffy was able to get back up and overcome the poison through his resolve to fight for Vivi. Luffy became stronger than ever before and overwhelmed Crocodile convincingly. It's no exaggeration to say that from this point forward, Luffy dominated Crocodile, with chapter 209 being titled Surpassing You, showing how Luffy reached a whole new level. That's all for Crocodile and Alabasta, so now we can move on to Enel. Enel was the user of the Goro Goro no Mi, or the Rumble Fruit, which gives him the ability to create, control, and become lightning itself. It is said by Robin that the Goro Goro no Mi is one of the few devil fruits touted as invincible. A common misconception about the Rumble Fruit is that it's the strongest devil fruit, however this was a mistranslation by the Viz translator at the time. What Raki actually says is that the Rumble Fruit is the most powerful kind of devil fruit, the Logia family. This is also what Robin meant, as Logia users are considered to be invincible due to their intangible bodies. Enel also has the ability known in Skypiea as Mantra, but at this point it's better known to readers as Observation Haki. This added to Enel's already invincible stature, as he has the ability to sense others' presence or voices to locate people and read the intent of their actions. When it comes to Enel's speed, he was comfortably faster than post-Alabasta Luffy. Since he can read Luffy's moves, Enel was able to easily dodge his attacks, zap around him, and casually overwhelm him. Luffy couldn't even land a hit on him until he figured out a counter, which was to rebound his punches off a wall. Since Enel can't sense the intent of the wall, he couldn't predict where Luffy's punches would come from, which made his mantra useless. Either way, without this particular counter, Enel still proved to be on a higher speed tier than Luffy. Since Luffy is naturally resistant to lightning, Enel's attack power feats are better demonstrated against Zoro and Wiper, as they more or less rival Luffy. Wiper outright had a relatively even fight against Luffy, being able to match him physically as well as deal heavy damage with his burn bazooka. This same burn bazooka was tanked by the giant snake Nola, and Nola was literally cooked by Enel's El Thor. Enel has even stronger techniques ranging from 30 million volts all the way up to 200 million. So as you can probably tell by now, Enel is not only much faster than Alabsta Crocodile, but his raw power is much higher as well. However, since they're both Logia users that seemingly can't use armament haki at this point in the story, how would their powers interact? When sand is struck by lightning, the intense heat will cause it to become a glassy structure known as fulgurite. Sand needs to be heated to roughly 1700 degrees Celsius to transform it into molten glass, and the heat of lightning can reach up to 30,000 degrees Celsius. Just to put into perspective how hot that is, that's just over 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Unfortunately, water is the only known counter to sand in One Piece. However, if I have to say who would have an elemental advantage between Crocodile and Enel, it's without a doubt Enel. The reason why water is a counter to Crocodile in the first place is because it solidifies his sand, which makes him susceptible to regular attacks. Realistically, Enel should be able to zap Crocodile and turn his body into a fulgurite, which counters his intangibility. However, if Enel was to face the Crocodile that escaped Impel Down and fought in the Marineford War, this would be an entirely different fight. Crocodile went from getting his light rocked by pre-Gear's Luffy to withstanding Josu's brilliant punk and staying on his feet. That same move was strong enough to draw blood from Aokiji, albeit he was off guard, but it just goes to show how much stronger Crocodile has become. Although it seemed that Luffy could still be a potential threat when he had water, Crocodile was still portrayed to be superior to him when facing off against Mihawk, as he protected both Luffy and Das Bones. Even if you were to lowball Crocodile to Marineford Luffy's level, it wouldn't even change the result of the matchup. I'll elaborate on this later on, but remember that Luffy in Marineford has become many times stronger since Skypiea. Crocodile was also able to clash evenly with Doflamingo and didn't even consider him to be his equal. Although the latter is clearly trash talk, Dofi considering him an equal is still noteworthy, which gives off the impression that he could at least compete with base Dofi. This would place Crocodile above post-timeskip Gear 2nd, as Dofi was capable of not only tanking Gear 2 attacks, but also outpacing and overwhelming Luffy. Long story short, Enel has no answers for Marineford Crocodile and would get beat up badly. Even though Enel was able to comfortably outpace Luffy in the first round of their fight, Luffy was able to greatly outperform his previous showings by actually landing attacks without the need to bypass Enel's mantra. This is particularly impressive because Enel was in his 200 million volt armor reform, which potentially amps Enel's speed a lot. Enel even said the golden rifle was fast and was unable to react to it, which puts a cap on where his speed can be scaled to. This is why I said that even if you were to lowball Crocodile to Marineford Luffy's level, he would still be on a much higher speed tier to Enel, as Luffy has become many times faster since Skypiea thanks to Gear 2nd. It also doesn't help Enel that his endurance and durability are garbage, and that isn't an exaggeration. Not only was he easily knocked down by a regular punch, Luffy's octopus firework technique wounded Enel so badly that he was physically unable to avoid the next attacks despite seeing it coming. By the way, all this is against a version of Luffy before he learned Gear 2 and 3. Even Enel's elemental advantage would be useless, as not only would it be too slow for Crocodile, but it wouldn't even be potent enough to matter. Enel's best AP feats are heavily damaging Wipeout and Skypiea arc Zoro and Sanji, whereas Crocodile can withstand attacks that can slightly injure admirals. The only technique Enel can do that could be a threat to Crocodile would be the Kingdom Come. This had the power to wipe out a small island and leave a massive crater in its place. However, the Kingdom Come has the prerequisite of forming lightning clouds by using the Arc Maxim, meaning this isn't something Enel can normally do. However, even if Enel could form these lightning clouds without the Arc Maxim, the Kingdom Come would be way too slow. By using the Golden Bell, Luffy was able to discharge the electricity before it reached Upper Yard, and for those that might be thinking Luffy just discharged it before Enel could launch the attack, Enel outright says he's going to drop the Kingdom Come before Luffy can discharge it, but he failed to do so. So it's no exaggeration to say that even with the most charitable scaling for Enel, he would still get blitzed and dried up by Crocodile. The only thing we can be skeptical about would be Crocodile's ability to use armament haki, which if we're being real, he most likely can use it, at least by the time of the Marineford War. There's even this excerpt from One Piece magazine 14 that talks about Crocodile most likely being a user of armament haki based off his ability to clash with Mihawk and attack Akainu, who is a Logia user. As you all know, haki wasn't a fleshed out concept early in the story, which is why Crocodile isn't clearly shown to use it. However, considering he was an established pirate in the New World and challenged Whitebeard in his younger years, it kind of goes without saying that he is a haki user. But if you want to be really edgy about it, then Crocodile would just stalemate Enel, since neither can do anything to the other. Lastly, for post-timeskip Crocodile, he's become stronger than ever before and even founded Cross Guild that is now an Emperor organization. Unlike his pre-timeskip counterpart, Crocodile is confirmed to be a user of both observation and armament haki in his Viva card entry. He doesn't have any major feats to speak of as of this recording, so just think of Marineford Crocodile but a lot stronger. Due to his leadership and Logia powers, the Marines have issued a 1.9 billion berry bounty for Crocodile, which just goes to show that he's one of the most powerful pirates in the New World. So long story short, Enel would destroy Alabsta Crocodile with no difficulty. Marineford Crocodile massively outscales Enel and should destroy him with no difficulty, and post-timeskip Crocodile would also win with no difficulty.